let's stick with the MVP stuff because we are at the point now where people are kind of drawing their their lines in the sand here and saying, this is what I believe, and if you disagree with me, shame on you. So where would you like to start this conversation? Do you want to start in the AL or the NL?
I would like to start by handicapping the field. So you mentioned 4 baseball players' names: Aaron Judge, Bobby Witt Jr., Shohei Ohtani, and Francisco Lindor. And I think what I would like to first say is that both Aaron Judge and Bobby Witt Jr. would be the National League MVP, runaway, no conversation, no questions asked, in my opinion. The 2 leagues are just a construct. I mean, we're all a construct. Baseball doesn't actually matter. Maybe I'm getting too meta for a Wednesday morning. But what I'm trying to say is Bobby Witt Jr. and Aaron Judge just happening to be in the same league doesn't make their seasons any different. Bobby Witt Jr. is having one of the greatest seasons of all time as a shortstop. And yet I believe that Aaron Judge should be the MVP. And multiple things can be true. So I just think it's important to look at these 2 conversations. I understand that they are separate at the end of the day, but I just think like being like, oh, Bobby Witt Jr. and Aaron Judge is almost like a level above the Lindor Ohtani conversation.
Sure. So then we'll start in the American League then. And I know that part of it too is now that we have, a balanced schedule, it's not necessarily the same thing as the American League players are competing against majority American League teams. And it's still majority, but not as heavy as it was before. So it felt like there were a little bit of difference. Obviously, with the DH, you had different rules for a while and all these things. But now that it's all balanced, it is just like what league you happen to be in. And we could just do it like, basketball, right? Basketball and the I don't even know. Football? Yes. Yeah, football, yes. I think, right? It's just one MVP, right? So it's already unique in that sense relative to some other sports that we have multiple, but I don't really want to change that. I like being able to talk about multiple of these things in one season. I think that is fun. So if we focus on those 2, I mean, to me, which I kind of use as the intro, the degree to which people just refer to anything as obvious is unnecessary. And that's the part where it's like, listen, we should be, I think, grateful that we get to have these conversations, these comparisons. And I think that these debates are more interesting than even like a Hall of Fame discussion, because all that's done. Whereas this is every day, one of them is doing something where they're making you think like, oh my God, how can you vote against this guy, right? And I'm sitting there on Monday at the doubleheader in Cleveland, and I see Bobby Witt Jr. hit a go-ahead home run in the 8th after he stole his 27th base earlier, and he's hitting 420 since the All-Star break, which is like a top 5 mark ever. And I'm just like, how does it get better than this? And then I turn on the TV, and there's Aaron Judge hitting another home run and robbing multiple home runs at center. And I'm like, all right, well, how's it better than that guy? And so ultimately, I think from a voting standpoint, it's probably there's going to be human dynamics with this too, not just who you ended up seeing, all the voters who are in the BBWA are seeing these players different numbers of times, and that can impact it. And also there's voting fatigue sometimes. This has happened in other sports where it's like, okay, is Aaron Judge that much better? Do I really want to vote for him? Or does it feel like this is the year that Bobby Witt Jr. became one of the best players in baseball? And so all those things I think factor into it. I don't think all those things are valid in my opinion.
Let's just read the lines before we continue. So as of this morning, Wednesday, August 28th, Aaron Judge, what's his middle name? James. Aaron James Judge has a 333 batting average, a 465 on base percentage, and a 732 slug that is good for a 1197 OPS, which is 129 points above league average adjusted. He has 51 balls hit over the fence. 51 times he has sent a baseball hurtling into the seats. That is what we call a good season. Bobby Witt Jr. is no schlub. He is slashing 346, 399, 614, good for a 1013 OPS. But the thing that Bobby Witt Jr. does that Aaron Judge does not, well, there are 2. One is that he steals bases. He has 27 of those so far this season. And the other is that he plays shortstop. He plays shortstop quite well. And because shortstop is a difficult position to play, arguably the second most difficult position behind catcher, the value bump for Bobby Witt Jr. is significant. He is currently at 8.7 baseball wins above replacement compared to Aaron Judge, who is at a measly 9.7 wins above replacement. Jordan Shusterman. I would vote for Aaron Judge. I think he is the best hitter we have. He's having like the best offensive season we've seen since Barry Bonds. You were just around the Royals. Did you get a sense for how people around the Royals are looking at this? Like, if Judge wins, will they be fuming?
I don't think I didn't ask anything too pointed about that. Although, again, like, it's just so casual. Like, they're really just like, yep, Bobby did it again. So not that they don't appreciate it, but it's already, especially because they've seen him do it now for 3 years. Not that he was at this level the last 2 years, but they've watched this ascent to the point where it really is not as much a fresh act. It's more of just like the natural, not conclusion, but just like next step in what Bobby Witt Jr. is going to be as a major leaguer. And so to that point there, it's like, of course. Now, again, if you put it in the larger context and you start thinking about the team, and Bobby Witt Jr. is not the only reason, we'll talk about the Royals more extensively, why they are, on pace to maybe have the greatest, rebound from a 100-loss season that we've ever seen, let alone possibly going from, one of these last place to first place, like all these things that the Royals are doing. But Bobby Witt Jr. is a big part of that. And not that he doesn't have some quality teammates, but, when you compare those things also, it's like, okay, you start to have a bigger conversation. But I want to kind of get back to the defense part of it too, because something that I feel like when we talk about Aaron Judge is are we underrating the center field component of Aaron Judge at this point? Now, I know he's not awesome out there. I don't consider him like well, again, this week you would say, of course he's awesome. Look, he just robbed a couple home runs. I think on the whole, is he a plus defensive center fielder? I think some people would say yes. Some people would say probably not. But the fact that he's doing it now in 2022, he did play. It was basically split. I think it was slightly more center, but it was basically split between right. Whereas this year, it's been majority in center field. I mean, he's probably going to end up playing 100 games in center field. And while that is maybe not as valuable as 100 and literally possibly 162 games as a plus defensive shortstop, I do think it's part of the factor too. I do think, and especially related as we switch it to the Ohtani Lindor conversation here in a bit, that like that's not insignificant that Aaron Judge is going out there and playing at least a reasonable center field while also having one of the greatest offensive seasons we've ever seen. Like that should not go overlooked either, I don't think.
And that's part of the reason why I would vote for Judge. And I feel bad for Bobby Witt Jr. that he's having this season. I feel more skeptical to like stump for Lindor because of the season Bobby Witt Jr. is having, which is maybe unfair because it's like Witt's season is just in every way superior to the season Lindor is having. Not to say Lindor's having a bad season. I mean, he's having an unbelievable season, right? But it's like Witt, if you put him in the National League, like he's winning the MVP, And so there's something that's just a little odd for me about that. And again, maybe that's not fair. So yeah, I would vote for Judge. Yeah. I think you would probably vote for Judge. The one thing about this conversation that I want to really harp on is like, what sucks is it just turns into bashing really good players or like picking them apart. Correct. Where what this really should be is just celebrating a bunch of people who had an awesome season.
Well, but here's the other thing I will say is it's not over. If we voted tomorrow, I think Aaron Judge would get, 25 plus first place votes. But we got a month to go, and it's close enough to where I think Bobby Witt Jr. does actually have a chance. Like, I really do, because all it takes is Aaron Judge getting walked a ton and just not getting to 60 home runs, and then Bobby Witt Jr., and the Royals winning the division. I mean, I really believe that. I really believe that there is a path here for Bobby Witt Jr. to still win this award. I just, like, you can keep there's a month to go. And there's no reason for me to expect Aaron Judge to slow down. I'm just saying if Aaron Judge suddenly has his April and Bobby Witt Jr. continues and hits 340 and like, that's not it's not an impossible. The season's just not over. So like, that is my biggest problem with not that we shouldn't have MVP conversations. We're choosing to do that in the end of August on this podcast. Like, it's not that it's not a worthy discussion. I'm just saying the season's not over. So we have,
of course, but like maybe Brent Rooker could hit 50 home runs the rest of the year too. Like, I think we need to look at it of what's realistically could happen.
Stop. And this is realistic. That I'm saying it's realistic. It's a realistic thing. He's close enough. He is close enough. I'm just saying, I'm not, again, I'm voting for Aaron Judge tomorrow too. I'm telling you that it is close enough to where there's a chance.
For there to be a chance.
Comparing that to Brent Rooker is ridiculous. Come on.
I'm just saying that there's enough runway for a lot of different things to happen. Like, of course you could say
not talking about
this might happen. My point is that if you've watched Aaron Judge play baseball over the last 2 months, I am struggling to envision a world in which he just falls apart this next month and does not win the MVP award.
I agree with that. I'm just telling you that 30 games is a lot of games, and we got a while to go.
Yeah, it's a lot of games for Aaron Judge to hit a bunch more freaking home runs. Like,
right. And if he does, he will win the award easily, and it will be deserved. That is absolutely there. I guess I'm really just trying to get across that Bobby Witt is he's just not that far behind. That doesn't mean that Aaron Judge is going to slow down. I'm just saying he's not that far behind. That is my main point. So yes, I would vote for Aaron Judge. Yeah.
I think I disagree with that premise. I think that he is
then
not,
I'd be curious what people think about that, because
he's not a chasm. It's not it's not 1,000 miles behind, but I don't think it is particularly close right now. That is my opinion. I
mean, again, Fangraphs, if you want to, you said Baseball Reference war, Bobby Witt Jr. is on pace for like the highest shortstop Fangraphs war we've seen, and I don't know how many. I guess it's just like A-Rod and nothing else. So it's fine. Again, I'm voting for Judge. Okay, you don't got to sell me on Aaron Judge. I'm not.
He's good, dude. He's a good player. He could do a lot of things for your ball club.